NBA DFS show with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Live show. We're looking at the Wednesday 6-game main slate over on DraftKings. 8 games now over on FanDuel. The 10 inches of snow in New Orleans, James. You're in South Carolina. You got a couple of inches your way as well. But 10 inches of snow hit New Orleans. That game ends up being postponed due to weather. For the Bucks and Pelicans. Who would have ever thought that would have been the situation? So we are down 1 game, and that's too bad because that was a game that you and I had liked. We had targeted. We had hoped to include some players, but that kind of alters the slate. It alters the ownership. We've also had a ton of injury news, more so impacting the FanDuel slate. The Clippers, essentially missing their entire starting lineup tonight outside of like James Harden. In their matchup against the Celtics. The Celtics could be without Kristaps Porzingis in that game. We're waiting on Jalen Johnson news. We're waiting on a few other key pieces injury-wise here today. But, it should be an interesting build now with that one big game off the board.
Well, and, what the hell to do with Brooklyn? Because That's an absolute...
Couple of doubtfuls, couple of outs. It's going to be the Brooklyn team.
So much red.
Going to be the Brooklyn team we had a month ago, right? Where we were playing, all those backups essentially.
It's going to be the one that they had when they scored 67 points about a week ago. Literally a week to this day, they scored 67 points and lost by 49. 49? 59?
Yeah.
59. Math is hard. 59 points. So it's going to be an interesting slate for sure. And obviously, 6 games, 7 games, all, definitely like the wheelhouse regardless. But I do already miss Bucks Pelicans because I told you Pelicans get hot, making a run at making a run at 12-32 at the play-in tournament.
It is, that's the wildness of it all, isn't it? We got plenty of you guys in the chat. We appreciate you here with us. Again, roster lock today is at 7:30. We talked about this on the preview show and yesterday as well. Usually when we're live here, 5 to 6, we do get some of that injury news, some of those lineups coming out for the 7 o'clock roster lock. We saw yesterday we had some limited news, but not really any of the news until after the show is over. So more of a reason right now than ever to get that 7-day free trial right there, or go to fantasyalarm.com/win because we get in the Discord. We're updating you constantly in that Discord, getting you guys ready for the 7:30 roster lock. Again, it is a 7-day free trial, so you don't have to worry about get access to all of our content, playbooks. What do we get?
Jimmy Butler
trade
suspended for 2 games.
My phone's dead. What do you get suspended for?
He missed the game. He missed the team flight Wednesday. And he had planned to join the team, but he missed the team.
Did he tell them that he had plans to join the team? Which team does he have plans to join? The Phoenix team in Brooklyn or the Miami team wherever Miami's off to, right?
One or the other. Also, those doubtfuls, John, because your phone is dead, have now turned to outs. Ben Simmons, Cam Johnson,
phone recharging now. I have a phone charger quite literally next to my desk, and yet my phone is always on the other side of my desk where it's not plugged in, and that dies on me.
That seems less than optimal, John.
There's probably a good chance my wife has been calling me for the last hour, and I haven't even realized it. Anyways, Ricky's about to do the free trial. Scan that QR code, fantasyalarm.com/win. Promo code Let's Go when you sign up gives you that first month after the 7-day free trial for less than $20. Again, that gets you access to all of our premium content and our premium Discord. So scan that QR code, get your 7 days free, and get everything on site for free as well for 7 days. All right, so now that I'm going to be getting updated constantly with my phone charged and plugged in, let's talk about.
It's hard to miss a flight, right? Just throwing it out there, like it's hard to miss a flight.
Accidentally, yes. Especially when you're on a team schedule. there's that. Is there a link on my phone? I'll type it in. FantasyAlarm.com
Well, you can also do the little scanny scan, right? On the
you can scan that QR code. You can go to the description of the YouTube show as well. I believe the link is in there. So you got that. You got all that going for you if you want to go ahead and check out the 7-day free trial. Hard to miss a plane unless you did it on purpose. That's for sure. And then saying like, "I'll meet you there." Again, was that like you guys go ahead? Like, I'll see you there. Like, no problem. Or was that like a plan? I can't imagine he went to Spoelstra and ownership was like, "Hey guys, like I need a day. Like, I'll meet you there." He probably just no showed. He's like, "I'll, whatever." So we may have seen his last ever game in Miami last night.
Yeah, I mean,
probably good chance.
All right, deadline in 2 weeks.
Your top price plays on tonight's slate are all at the point guard position. LaMelo Ball, SGA, Cade Cunningham up over $10,000. In the playbook, it's no disrespect to Ball or SGA, but I just wrote up Cade Cunningham. I did not write up Ball and SGA. You can play Ball and SGA. They're both in good matchups. We know that what they're capable of doing in limited minutes for SGA and that 16.5 point spread or Ball against a good Memphis team. But Cade and Trey are in the best game environment on the board, highest game total, closest point spread. They both dominated in each other's matchups earlier this season. Cade at 10-2 for me is the easy play. He's the cover of the playbook. He's the cover of the preview show, a live show here today. 10 turnovers aside against Houston the other day. Still had a good day. Had 18 third quarter points because he's always capable in live of putting those numbers together. So I just stacked those two guards as my top two of the day.
Yeah, and you're right there with the field too. Those are clearly the top two spends of the day per, the field as well. And I can't disagree with it. I mean, that game is an elite game environment, one of the only ones with a close spread that has that total, 234 implied points. 3-point favorites are Atlanta at home. And you mentioned like SGA is in a football.
Yeah.
But like you don't even see it 16.5 in the NFL, right? Like that's like bigger than NFL spreads, like even like in when you're like facing the Giants, or something. So, Utah is getting players back. Markkanen's available, John Collins is available, Colin Sexton's available. They have like some of their team available, most of their team available. So maybe like you can make a case that Utah could like keep it competitive enough. But I don't feel great about it, especially with Jalen Williams being at shoot around this morning. So yeah, I mean, I definitely think Shea is interesting in tournaments because he is obviously much lower owned than Cade and Trey. But I largely agree on everything you said. Like Cade and Trey are the top two for me as well. But I do have a little bit of interest in SGA in tournaments, with Utah being somewhat healthy and, 59 and 56 fantasy points in back-to-back games with 29 minutes for Shea as well.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely capable of eating in limited minutes. We know that he's their offense, their sub patterns are allow for SGA to play a lot of minutes, basically as the Lone Ranger out there as well, where he just takes over in the second half of those games. And I do find it funny. Markkanen and Collins both get active, and all that spread does is move 1 point. Wow. It was 17.5 last night. It was 16.5.
1 point.
The two best players in Utah is good for 1 point against the Thunder. So, anyways, he got that. I wrote up John Morant as well. I know we talked about me texting you saying unplayable in their rotation, and he only got 30 minutes in that game. And all that being said here, but in 31 minutes against San Antonio, in for 49 fantasy points. So he is certainly very capable of crushing in limited minutes. It's sad that this may be what we're getting out of Memphis now with everybody back for them essentially. What happens when Marcus Smart returns? Do we get 14 guys?
A trade?
Yeah, you're allowed to 15 on the bench or something like that. They're just gonna play everybody. But I'm still okay if you want to. I wrote up in the playbook. Like if you're building your player pool, you're doing 150 lineups or 20 lineups. Like John Morant's in there for a lineup, right? You have a John Morant exposure tonight. I'm good on that. If I'm single entering tonight, I'm probably not playing John Morant. But anything more than that, I think is fine. Garland and Van Vliet, same matchup against one another. Do you have a preference of the two?
Garland without the people that are there for Cleveland, but I think they're both fine. No Evan Mobley, no Isaac Okoro, possibly no Karis LeVert. I think what it is. He didn't play any minutes last game, and that's what happens when they boat race teams. He doesn't play minutes. But anytime he's been extended, he's been awesome. So I lean Garland, but that's obviously probably the most fun game tonight outside Brooklyn Phoenix, because Brooklyn Phoenix is going to be so fun.
Yep, I agree with you.
You agree that Brooklyn Phoenix are going to be fun? I agree.
Yeah,
totally.
No, super fun. I agree with you. It's going to be the game that we're all going to want to watch. It's probably like the NBA TV game of the day. You're going to be on the couch tonight just watching, Brooklyn Phoenix, just enjoying that matchup. So
I am. You're right.
All right. Obviously, all these Brooklyn plays are here. If they're down so many guys, do you play them? I know you mentioned like they scored 67 points the other day against the Clippers. Yeah. Is there anybody that you would play on Brooklyn?
Probably all of them.
Okay.
So like what they have available tonight is, I believe, 8. Claxton, Keon Johnson, Clowney, Martin, Sharp, Wilson, Tosan, Beekman, Whitehead. So they have 9 available. I'd assume Claxton, Keon, Martin, Clowney, Wilson is your starting 5.
Yeah.
So since we're at point guard, I mean, I would play Keon Johnson. We've seen Keon Johnson with a really high ceiling this year when he's been extended. Obviously, the problem is getting extended. That's been the primary issue. I would say
nothing standing in his way now, right?
Right. And I would say the recent production you look at, you can't necessarily like hold hit to like his fault, because those players aren't there now, and that's
right. The high usage players and Russell and Cam Johnson are not on the floor, right?
Yeah, and no Cam Thomas and no Ben Simmons and like literally no Zaire Williams, like just everyone that could possibly take minutes away. So I don't hate Keon Johnson. I think there is a potential for high usage, and I don't hate Reese Beekman at $3,000 because he's min salary. We've done this before. Like if they get blown out. The other day in that game, Reese Beekman played 21 minutes. This is again, John. This is like the exact game that we saw the other day, where they had 67 points scored, and they played these like same 9 players, and Reese Beekman played the minutes, right? Played all you need in at 3K in a game that like, and this game. You look at has, what is the spread? 12.5, I think I saw. 13. Yeah. Phoenix is 13-point favorites. Hilarious that Phoenix is a 13-point favorite versus this team, and OKC is 16.5 versus like a full Utah team. Just shows you there's
I kind of agree with Parwa here. You punt down with Beekman, or you just play Martin at like 5,100. Guy that's going to be there. We'll talk Rob Dillingham now. We'll circle back to some other value, but we can talk Dillingham. Obviously Dillingham, 17, 18 minutes the last 2 games. No Dante DiVincenzo for a stretch now. First round pick this year out of Kentucky, shown right away some pretty good offensive upside. 6 of 8 shooting, 5 of 10 shooting, 4 of 6 shooting the last 3 games where he's gotten some action, earning more minutes. We've seen NAW struggle. They don't have DiVincenzo anymore. They're not going to play Mike Conley 35 minutes. There's a path for Dillingham to continue to sort of increase his role on this team. And at $3,100, I feel like I would rather Dillingham than Beekman, but what are your thoughts there?
I probably would lean Beekman. I would probably lean Beekman. There's just not like, Brooklyn has 9 guys. One's a backup center, right? Like Daron Sharp. So you have 2 of the 7 there's not a lot of guards on Brooklyn available. Dariq Whitehead is obviously available, but they have basically 3 guards tonight. They're going to start Keon. They're going to start Tyrese Martin. And so where I think Dillingham is clearly the more talented player. I just think ultimately Beekman has better opportunity than Rob Dillingham.
What I like about Dillingham, 21 and 25% usage rate the last 2 games for him.
Yeah, it's good.
Like that's really good. Well, those are the numbers you're looking for a guy to get on the floor and just be him. Beekman in that game that he played, 12.8% usage rate. Again, Day'Ron Sharpe, highest roster player on the slate, 35% usage rate in that game.
Right.
So so there's just some other options for it. Love to see that, Ricky. If you're not in the Discord, make sure you join, and I'll get you set up with your premium access in there. So again, I like Dillingham. I think the usage rate's there. And if you're going to tell me Dillingham and Beekman are both going to play 21 minutes tonight, we'll say, Dillingham has a higher ceiling, I think, in that situation. I'm also, what's your take on the spread here? Dallas could be without all of their wings, and it's only 3.5 points.
Probably just Vegas covering their butt with.
Think so?
Yeah, because we have no idea what's going to happen with Dallas. They could
play Grimes and Marshall are all questionable.
Lively already rolled out.
And Lively's out for months because of the foot. So,
I mean, maybe an indication they're going to play. We did this exact same thing with Dallas at home a few weeks ago with the Lakers. Remember? And it was this number is a little weird. And Dallas is good at home. They have a great home crowd.
They still have Kyrie and Dinwiddie and guys like that could be competitive, but
right.
So that's kind of my take on it. Again, I know we're split their power. I would go with Dillingham. I'm a bit more enamored with his offensive potential. I think if all things are considered equal in that spot. Circling back, you do have Conley, who's looked a lot better of late. He's been taking more shots. He's this price right, $4,000, 25, 23, 25 minutes. It's going to be his role there. Going to start 4K. If you wanted to get to Conley, you can. You've called out Vic Krejci a ton. I mean, even with a fully healthy team, he played 33 minutes against the Knicks. So.
Yeah, I think he's fine. No one's going to play him. I think the eligibility definitely helps. And obviously he has a higher ceiling if Jalen Johnson were to be ruled out. So
yeah, sure.
I think Krejci is fine. Not just indifferent about it.
Yeah,
really.
That's fine. Nets players available. We get this. Read this off to everybody right now. I think we mentioned it already, but we just got the tweet, so we'll just spit it out to everybody as soon as this loads for me. Of course, when you want the internet to work quickly for you, the internet doesn't work quickly.
Tyrese Martin.
There you go.
Keon Johnson, Jalen Wilson, Noah Clowney, Nick Claxton, Reese Beekman, Tosan, Day'Ron Sharpe, Dariq Whitehead. Not gonna do the Tosan thing again. Awoma, that's what it is. Tyson
Awoma, yeah.
Tosan Awoma.
There you go. All right, let's go to shooting guard. Shooting guard has Edwards, Irving, Booker, and Mitchell up at the top. 2 of those games obviously are blowout potentials, or I guess one of those games are blowout potentials with Booker against Brooklyn. Then you have the competitive game against Edwards and Irving, and Mitchell against Houston. Mitchell had a huge game the other night. Are you worried about Mitchell seeing Ahmed Thompson, Dillon Brooks tonight, or do you think he's just good to go?
I mean, there's, yes and no. I mean, there's a strong case to say those are 2 of the better defenders in basketball, at least in physicality and athleticism. But it's not individually, Donovan Mitchell has had necessarily easy matchups the last 2 games. Ryan Dunn is one of the better young perimeter defenders in the league. Cooked them. Minnesota, one of the really slow-paced offense plus really top 10 defense. Cooked them. Jaden McDaniels is considered all-world defender. And you look at it, he gets about a 2% usage bump. No Mobley, no Okoro, 33% usage. And if LeVert is ruled out, we're talking about a guy with a 38% usage rate. So I'm not really worried about it. He's gone for 30 plus and 50 fantasy points in each game, and not either of them were necessarily like easier matchups. Donovan Mitchell, honestly, the only time he's like legitimately struggled this year has been when he's been in the chamber, right? He's been in the torture chamber twice. He struggled. So I honestly, probably amongst the top names, he's probably my preferred target.
Sure. We had to mention a question earlier from Jimmy here. Would you fade Jalen Green? $7,700 gets his matchup against Cleveland here today.
I mean, he's definitely a good large field tournament play. Nobody's playing Jalen Green. He's 1% rostered.
Yeah.
I think the projection is a little low on Jalen Green as well. They're obviously healthier than they've been, minus Jabari Smith. They got Tari Eason back. They have guys that they can go to. I mean, you saw it, right? Jalen Smith and Şengün got limited 30 minutes because they liked more what they were getting from Tari and other guys. But if Jalen Green's making his shots, like, they need his offense on the floor in this spot. Cleveland's the number 1 rated offense in basketball. So I'm good with Jalen Green in large field stuff, if that's what actually number 2 now, Cleveland. Sorry, Denver's number 1. Actually, let me take this back. I take it back. My filter's on last 10 games, and now it won't go back. So just screwed there. Cleveland number 1 offense still.
Yep.
Jalen Green's good for large field stuff. I don't necessarily have like a strong conviction to get to him in single entry or cash games.
Yeah, I mean, around him, obviously, there's Amen Thompson. You could spend up for Edwards and Irving if you wanted there. We had Ricky saying he loves Desmond Bane tonight. Again, Bane, 37 minutes in that game when everybody was sort of limited, so he got the extra run. There's a lot of names that we've played in this range. We were playing Murphy McCollum before the cancellation. So do you find yourself now pivoting to one of these guys, or are we going down to the value tier? We have Nick Smith, Dave. Yeah, a little Nick Smith love tonight at shooting guard. Like, what are your thoughts?
I think I would rather pivot up anyway to Donnie would be still my preferred option. But it's very hard to get away from Nick Smith today. Ultimately, it is. We said it on the pre-show as well when we were talking about it. He is a high usage guy. In the last 2 games that he started, he's had a 20 and a 25, basically 26% usage rate. You just don't get that from players at 3,200. And you probably wouldn't think you'd ever get that from a guy this price on a team with LaMelo Ball and Miles Bridges. Like, he is not taking a back seat to those guys if you're pulling 20 or 26% usage in any game. So I like Nick Smith a ton tonight. I think he is really good chalk at 3,200. There's a case to be made for Nick Smith, like, playing in blowout if this game gets out of hand too. Not that it will, but obviously Memphis is really good. Charlotte's just been really competitive lately. So I think Nick Smith is the easiest plug and play of the day. Like, if you want to avoid Brooklyn value at all, you can just plug Nick Smith and move on, right? And just like basically pretend Brooklyn doesn't exist, because you have a guy who's $3,200.
Mm-hmm. And if you're playing on FanDuel, I think Smith is like $4K over there. So like even, super $4,100 over on FanDuel today. So like you could very easily get Smith into your lineup. Again, starting for Brandon Miller, so the minutes are going to be there. The shot attempts have been there. The Prince just said you can definitely play him over there as well. Just 4K play over on FanDuel help you double spend somewhere else. Shooting guard only. He is the goated shooting guard small forward on DraftKings. So
you can't. I mean, it doesn't get better than that, right?
Like, really doesn't. There are obviously other options as we go down the value. Karis LeVert, we'll see if he's in or out or not, but he started last time out. I'm going to just give him a pass in the 1-for-6 shooting. If he's in the starting lineup again, we'd certainly have interest in playing him. Max Strus, again, started for Levert. With Levert out, 21 minutes in the blowout, didn't hit his shots. We'll give him a pass. Be willing to plug him right back in if he is starting. I'd probably even play him even with Levert in. I just think he's going to be in that rotation tonight with no Evan Mobley. So happy to go there. You have your OKC plays in a game with a 16.5 point spread, whether that be Dort, Wallace, or Isaiah Joe. Can run one of those plays if you're looking for game theory or narratives. I don't mind looking at Malik Beasley because the minutes are back trending in the right direction for him. If he hits his shots in a game like this against Atlanta, high scoring, like he could stay on the floor and get you 30 fantasy points tonight at $5,100. There's obviously risk involved with that, just given the fact that he could easily play 17 minutes again tonight. And then Martin, again, he's going to be locked in for big minutes. He played 37 against the Clippers. I get it. That team had 67 actual points. He had 20 fantasy points in that game, but we've seen him extended plenty of times this year and pop off and have good games. So if you're looking for some value plays on shooting guard position tonight over on DraftKings, that's where I'd go. Same thing over on FanDuel. You can play them, but as we highlighted, Nick Smith is certainly, I think, the primary option on this slate. Small forward, obviously over on FanDuel, there's more plays like Andrew Wiggins and DeMar DeRozan, which I like if you want to get some exposure into those games. But DraftKings side, a lot of these players have dual positional eligibility. To your point, it almost makes sense to play Nick Smith here and play some of the other shooting guards. But what do you think at small forward tonight?
This position sucks.
It's terrible.
I would.
Jaden McDaniels was like the only guy I was like confidently kind of willing to plug, I think.
Yeah, I would just start there. Those two players are your highest rostered small forwards, Nick Smith and Jaden McDaniels.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a coincidence. Jaden McDaniels' rebound opportunities have gone way up since Dante DiVincenzo. Again, like we sit here and, Dillingham's playing great and should he be extended? And, Conley's back in the starting lineup. like NAW, like we're trying to figure out all this stuff. And meanwhile, Jaden McDaniels' minutes are just at an all-time high.
Where they are.
42 and 38 minutes in back-to-back games. He almost has 2 double-doubles, and the scoring is up double figures in 4 straight games. So I think it's kind of a easy starting point at small forward to just start with Jaden McDaniels. And like you could play, like there's a lot of potential of Dallas too on the flip side of that, and we'll know early. There's 3 guys 47 to 5,400 in Dallas. If one of them plays and 2 of them don't, that one guy becomes super, super valuable. Yeah. And if 2 of them play and the other one sits, there's probably still plenty of value because all 3 of these guys are firmly in the rotation. If all 3 sit, then we're probably have to revisit the Jaden Hardy. Jaden Hardy's out. We probably have to revisit Dinwiddie. Revisit Omax. We'll visit Omax. It's going to be a.
Omax was the one we kind of hinted at on the preview show. If everybody was to sit, it would probably be Omax that would go and get the minutes here. 3K.
Probably. Yeah, probably. So there is a lot of will kind of like last night, right? We'll know Dallas.
Jalen Johnson active tonight.
Jalen Johnson active. Okay. There's something going on with the shoulder. Just throwing it out there because that he came back and was probable, and then back on the questionable. I don't understand that, but we'll obviously know who's in and who's out for Dallas, but there's potential to be so much things to like in that situation if 2 sit and 1 doesn't, or all of them sit. Then you can obviously play all the OKC stuff. You can obviously play Asar Thompson. The minutes aren't going to be great, but Asar Thompson's going to rebound and be a menace defensively. And then, I think there's all this Cleveland stuff is obviously predicated on Levert. The Levert status.
Yeah.
None of them are getting ownership. Niang, Strus, Wade. But I do think, there's something to be said about Okoro's out, Mobley's out.
Yeah.
And 2 games ago, with Karis LeVert in, we saw Strus get extended. We saw Georges Niang get extended. We saw Dean Wade get extended. They all played big minutes. And nobody's rostering those 3 players. So, this is obviously a really good basketball game, really competitive basketball game. And I think, Karis LeVert is, news aside, all 3 of them are probably extended again. Even if LeVert plays, I would assume all 3 of them would play, and they're all sub 1% roster.
Yeah, and like I said, when we're still 7:30 roster lock, we're 2 hours outside. That news comes down, ownership updates, and all of a sudden, boom, there's people looking to go and playing those because of the value here on this slate. Steven saying he likes Ryan Dunn here. I actually just saw an update that Phoenix not willing to include Ryan Dunn in a Jimmy Butler trade. That's their hold up. Where are you with Ryan Dunn? Again, obviously, the other day in the blowout, only got 20 minutes. He had been really good prior to that. This is another game, though, where they're looking to be a blowout, but on the positive side, win, not lose. Do you think you get to Ryan Dunn at 4,100?
Do you know what the difference was between last game and the 2 games prior to
that? What do we got?
Bradley Beal.
Yeah, Beal. It's true.
I'm not saying the minutes won't be there, but everything Bradley Beal comes back and literally
takes the
from top to bottom. I'm not just blaming him, but there's clearly the disconnect, right? They want him out. He is now accepting no trade clause. I will go here. So
got to go where you wanted, right?
Got to go where you wanted. It's clearly messy there.
Obligatory Cam Whitmore mention. Everybody's back. He's still got 20 minutes in that game. He could be a bucket. Got 6 more rebounds. Like we've talked about his ability to kind of contribute outside of scoring, kind of helping his floor. So he's not going to play much more than this unless there's a blowout or if there's foul trouble or something. But he's at least there. And then Power said he likes the Isaiah Joe play with the 16.5 point spread. Yep. He's fine. I mean, they have a bunch of different guys they could go to in those situations. So just know that there's a risk there, but certainly could get it done. Power forward over on FanDuel. You can go play a Tatum. I think Sabonis has power forward eligibility over there as well. You can just do whatever you want over on the FanDuel slate with that. Clippers, Celtics, Golden State Warriors, and Sacramento Kings game. But here you have Durant in that blowout. Jalen Johnson officially in at $8,700. I had 35 fantasy points in that first meeting in 37 minutes. So not his greatest output this season, but we know how good he has been. You're concerned about the shoulder a little bit, though.
Hasn't shot well. Was listed probable the last 2 slates, and then he's listed questionable again. We're going backwards after, logging 35 and 38 minutes after missing 2 weeks. Didn't shoot a single 3 last game. Makes you wonder, can he? I mean, he shot a 3 in every game this year, John.
Yeah.
Every single game this year, he's taken at least 1 3 until last game. So might be playing. I think we're playing through something right now. And you know what? Power to Jalen Johnson for wanting to be out there, but and maybe he goes nuts and it doesn't matter and none of this matters. And he throws some vicious left-hand dunks down tonight and it doesn't matter, right? Because he is. I would like to see Jalen Johnson in the dunk contest. I'm petitioning for that, but you will get him at low ownership. I'll say that because nobody ever plays. We say this every time. No one ever plays.
How do you feel about Triple J and Jalen Williams in the same kind of range?
I'm good with both in tournaments. I think they all profile fine in tournaments. Again, I think Jalen Williams is similar to SGA, where if that game stays competitive, Jalen Williams has a very high ceiling, especially playing with SGA, as we've seen, and playing the small ball, at times small ball center, which they will obviously go to, have no problem going to. So I think they're both fine in tournaments. The Jaren Jackson minutes, foul trouble, peeking its head a little bit of, to the forefront, but he was super good in that Minnesota game. Price is coming down. So I think they're both better in large field stuff.
Are you touching any of the Utah plays?
No.
Okay.
No.
Marketing Collins?
No, I think it's very, very, very hard.
You
I mean,
included
like,
Julius Randle in your pick'ems today.
I like Julius Randle a lot, and that wasn't something that we talked about on the pre-show. But when you look at some of the stuff, like the peripheral stuff, all these numbers are real. No, J Dub, not J Will. J Dub is Jalen Williams, the forward, and J Will is the center.
Well, they're both Jalen Williams, but we gotta specify, right?
Yeah. Jalen Williams is the forward.
Yeah.
Is J Dub, and then Jalen with a Y. The center is J Will.
Yeah.
So
it's how they that's how they go ahead.
Decipher,
Jalen with the good one. Well, they're both good. The 8K player, Jalen Williams.
8K player, yes. We're talking about forwards right now, so Jalen Williams forward. So the last 3 games, sans Dante DiVincenzo, Julius Randle leads in potential rebounds and potential assists. 20 potential rebounds, 12 potential assists per game for Julius Randle.
Yeah.
That is a lot of peripheral stats, and you've seen it. They've shown up. 6 or more assists in all 3 games, 7 or more rebounds in all 3 games. And then you get the scoring in the Cleveland game, and he breaks the slate at 53 fantasy points.
Can he stop shooting threes now, or
he needs to stop shooting threes. That is for sure. He's from Dallas. I remember.
Now you're a narrative guy, huh? Now we're back.
No, yeah. I'm speaking for the narratives, for the people that like narratives. No, it's just a spot that if he scores to go along with these peripheral stats, because
he's gonna smash.
And the minutes, dude, have gone up too. Like we saw Gobert bench last game because they can't take Naz Reid off the floor. And if they need offense creation, they're getting it from Julius Randle. I mean, Edwards is just shooting the basketball. He's not. He's not. So I think Julius Randle is very interesting today.
I agree with you. There is Naz Reid. He does exist on this planet.
He does.
He is getting a ton of playing time. He's taking a ton of shots. He's making all of his threes. He's filling up the stat sheet. $5,500 over on DraftKings. On FanDuel, Reid is priced out at $5,900. So still like really good values on Naz Reid. He plays power forward and he plays center, so you can get him in either of your builds in either spot here tonight. Is there a reason you wouldn't play Naz Reid this evening?
If you think that they possibly go back to more Gobert and you get the 25 to 20, like 24, 25 minute Naz Reid, I think it's easily attainable for like when he was doing that, getting those minutes, and he was sub 5K. But now he's 5,500. So that would be my one condition. If you think that there's a chance because Gafford is on the floor and dominating that they go to Gobert more. But that would really be the only like condition that I would.
He's had one game under 27 fantasy points in his last 10.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, if he plays 23 minutes versus the minutes that we've seen lately, then I think naturally
higher chance to miss, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying he will, but there's just more probability that he will.
Sure. Toby's been playing a lot of minutes. Obviously, wasn't a good game against Houston, but he had 40 against Atlanta. Now, last game, 36, 36, 36, 34 minutes is what you like to see. Cash games, I'm fine with going Tobias Harris here.
Yeah, he's really popular today.
Yeah.
Oh no, that's I was about to say, holy smokes! I was looking at FanDuel ownership for a second, and I just saw Jalen Johnson atop the list, and I could not believe my eyes. But my eyes were not lying; it was FanDuel. So
which is still a thing up there. Are people playing Jalen Johnson over in FanDuel?
Yeah, a lot. But he's small forward, power forward, so it's easier to get to him.
And you play 2 of each position over there. So
yeah, $8,200 small forward, power forward. I definitely like that more than an $8,800 or $8,700 power forward only here on DraftKings.
Yeah. All right. What are we going to next? Any other values at power forward for you? I mean, a lot of these guys you kind of touched on already. Is there anybody new that you would, Tari Eason, Noah Clowney, I guess, would be just under them. Dylan Brooks is here at 5K. we've touched on the Thunder and pending Brooklyn plays. Like, what do you think? Cleveland plays?
Dude, Clowney is such a there's such a wide range of outcomes for Noah Clowney. Brooklyn is so random, dude, because they play these guys big minutes in blowouts, and then sometimes they don't, and then sometimes they're competitive in games they shouldn't be, like the other day against the Knicks, or yesterday against the Knicks, right? Like, game they shouldn't have been competitive in, they were. He only played 22 minutes in that Clippers game, but he played 28 minutes in their last blowout loss. He scored 0 actual points, and twice in his last 6 games he has scored less than 10 fantasy points. But in 2 of the last 6, he scored over 26. It's just like tournament only stuff. It's just the range of outcome on Noah Clowney is way too all over the place for cash or single entry for me. And then everything else we kind of talked about. I guess Tosan Iwoma is okay. He does have a pretty solid baseline of playing time. I mean, he's played basically 20 minutes in every game he's appeared in. Has he been necessarily the most productive player? No. He also has given us 22 actual in a game. Played 29 minutes in that Clippers game. Wish the price was a little more appealing, but nothing else. It's just the Cleveland stuff again for me.
All right, center. The highest rostered center on today's slate is Mark Williams. Does that surprise you?
I put our preview tweet today. Did you see it? I put, can anybody stop Mark Williams? That was one of my my key points of my tweet this morning. And I don't think so. I don't think anyone can stop Mark Williams.
Highest rostered center on today's slate for your spend ups here. He's been incredible. The minutes have been pretty good. Gets matchup against Memphis, and they rotate their guys around. So, 7K, the way he's playing right now, it makes a lot of sense. I'm not saying you have to immediately go to him and plug. He's just the highest rostered center. If no one else is really spending up, so you can get a no-own Şengün today if you wanted to at $9,200 against Cleveland. Otherwise, it's just the mid-tier. It's Mark Williams, it's Jalen Duren, it's Jared Allen in that range, and then the value. It's the other Jalen Williams, and it is Daron Sharp right here at 5K and 4,800, where the value spend ups are coming from tonight.
Yeah. Sharp is really popular. We've done this a couple times this year, right?
He was the only one to really pop in that one game where they scored 67 fantasy points, 67 points rather.
And he's done this a couple times where he's been popular and people have guessed right on Daron Sharp. I don't like the price and the ownership combination at all. I hate it. I hate it. I think it would be funny if Memphis and Charlotte had a competition to see who can get 2 fouls faster between Mark Williams and Jaren Jackson. If they had to guard each other and who got 2 fouls faster, I guess who would have the ball first, the other person would have 2 fouls faster.
Right, here we go. Dallas news. Klay Thompson is out for tonight. Imagine we'll be getting the rest of this news here momentarily. Najee out as well. So we're down 2. Quentin Grimes will play. So Grimes is your lottery winner there.
I just saw Grimes. I was just about to comment. They had just shown Quentin Grimes warming up. There was a video of just Quentin Grimes on the floor.
Yep.
Back spasms. Thoughts?
I hate it. We've seen that happen a few times where they play and then they leave because the back's spasming up on them.
Or they check out after that adrenaline dump, and then 4,800. He starts here, right? Kyrie, PJ, Dinwiddie, Grimes, Gafford.
Yeah.
Or they go Kleba and Grimes is coming off the bench.
They go big. You think they go big against Minnesota?
Could. Would be the team to do it against.
That would probably still give Prosper here minutes, though, right?
That would be good for. I think if Kleba started, that would be good for Prosper. Because you're not competing with like multiple players off the bench, right? Like it's.
Yeah, I'm checking this. Where did his minutes come from the other day? So he got first. I mean, he didn't play any of the fourth quarter of that game, but he played 6 minutes and 30 seconds in the first quarter. He played 9 minutes in the second quarter. Did Prosper in that game, and then played just 4 minutes in the third and did not play the fourth. And that had Clay and it had Najee.
Definitely don't love the second half minutes there.
I don't either. But they didn't like they played Kessler Edwards in the first quarter of that game. He didn't play anything in the second half either. They just kind of ran their starting unit. Kyrie Irving basically didn't come off the floor.
Plus Najee. It was like starting unit plus Najee.
Yeah, PJ Washington pretty much didn't come off the floor in the second half of that game.
Pete, you're not lying. PJ Washington sat for
3 minutes, 2 minutes.
I don't know. I can't. Math is hard.
8 and 3. Yeah, he sat for a minute. He sat for a minute.
1 minute. I mean, no, 1 minute. I mean,
so yeah, listen, there's going to be minutes available, and if he was already playing, he was subbing for PJ Washington, OMP there. So
yeah, and if they do go double big, you like, dude, we talked about this last night. McDaniels is a 6'10" small forward, 6'9" small forward. Like the PJ, I just remember Dallas doing this last week or something. They played a bunch of their double big stuff. So I like the Prosper call. Obviously, I think Quentin Grimes, we're going to see the ownership skyrocket.
Yep.
Have to kind of also consider some of the other stuff we didn't really talk about Dallas. You mentioned it. Like we didn't mention Kyrie. We did like a lot. We didn't really mention anything Dallas, but they're real. You want to talk about a more appealing shorthanded team? Yeah. Dallas is way more appealing than Brooklyn.
PJ. Well, the thing is, obviously, there's cheaper plays in Brooklyn, obviously, but you'd look at PJ Washington, obviously. Again, he didn't sit the second half of that game because he had foul trouble. Maybe that's why Prosper got all those runs.
Yeah, five fouls. I wonder. I mean, you could see Prosper closed the first half over PJ. It was definitely.
Yeah. He had 2 fouls in the first quarter, and then he picked up his third 2 minutes and 4 minutes into the second quarter. And gross. Prosper got all of that run.
Gross.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens there. But obviously they're down a bunch of wings that we have to kind of consider now where they'll go. Center, Okongwu's one of our favorite players, and no one's playing him. So
yeah, it's interesting.
I mean, under 10%. If he starts again, I have zero problem at $5,600 playing him.
I mean, you said it yesterday. How can Atlanta not start Onyeka Okongwu again? And they started him against Towns. It's not like they like just threw him out against to get his feet wet and start it. Like, no, they were like, welcome, dude. You're in the big leagues now.
It would make no sense to go back to Capella after finally pulling the trigger and playing the more explosive player, obviously.
Yes.
So $5,600, I'm happy to get there. Durant is in that same range, again, coming off some monster games himself. He didn't play in that game against Atlanta earlier this season, so there's a chance for him there. What did Congo get? It's just 16 minutes in that first game. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah, none of that matters. None of
it matters. But then you have Gaffer now. There's no Lively. Coming off 71 fantasy points at 6K.
This feels like a headache. Whatever side you pick. It's obviously a tough spot, but it does feel annoying.
Yep. Gaffer coming in around 14%.
I hate this. I hate this. Because he's nuked in 2 of the last 3, foul trouble in the third. And it's not a great spot. But he just has obviously, the center minutes are all his now. So
yeah. Right.
I don't know. I prefer the guys slightly below him more, but I get it. We didn't really talk Jared Allen all too much. I would definitely go back to Jared Allen. I know you like in passing mentioned him. Like I think an elite pivot if you don't want to go all the way down off Mark Williams is Jared Allen. Dude, I said it the other day. He played 36 minutes in a competitive game without Evan Mobley, right? He played 22 minutes in a game that they won by 100.
Yeah.
If they don't win by 100, he's going to play another mid-30s minutes. And he's been a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy without Evan Mobley this year. Yeah. So I do think, I believe it was Power that said it earlier in the show, and I couldn't agree more about like going back to Cleveland. We talked about it as well, but just going back to Cleveland, no one's going to do it outside of like LeVert and Mitchell because of a blowout, right? Like, right. As if the 2 games prior didn't happen or didn't matter. Like that game mattered. It was competitive, and we saw what the minutes would look like without Evan Mobley. So I would go right back to the well with Jared Allen.
Sure. All right, let's build a lineup.
Well, comment on the Jalen Williams stuff right there.
If J-Dub plays, we're a bit more concerned. If J-Dub sits, you see the 2 minutes, right? 27 and 31 minutes without J-Dub. Jalen Williams, Jalen. If he plays, you've seen the shorter stints.
So he played, slightly, I'll correct you a little there. You're mostly correct. The Dallas game, there was no SGA. Jalen Williams. That's what that one was. Right, Jalen Williams played. That was the Jalen Williams chalk flop.
Yeah.
And you saw the minutes extended because like
that was their rotation.
That was But the 14 against Cleveland, we had talked about it. Like there's
basically when they're fully healthy rather than Jalen Williams limited because they go smaller.
Yeah. So I'm not against it, and I think there's obviously a high ceiling. But if J-Dub plays, the rotation they like to go small. So just keep that in mind.
Yep. You may not be guaranteed 31 and 27 minutes if the other Jalen Williams is active tonight. So
correct.
Just be on the lookout for that potential situation there at 5K. Again, he's 5K now. He is not as cheap as he had been previously there. Anybody else for you at center? We lost our Brook Lopez play. That hurts my heart.
Yeah, that was great. He was super popular too this morning. You have your obligatory Isaiah Stewart toss.
Yeah, I always just kind of shout him out because he gets on the floor and he's active and he's basically free. He's $3,100. 18, 16, 21 minutes. He's going to see that range of outcomes. 2 of those 3 games, pretty damn good for $3,100. 13 and 8 rebounds, 19 and 27 fantasy points. If Jalen Duren gets in foul trouble at all, he'll get on the floor. There's going to be days like he has against Phoenix where he gets on there and he does nothing because, again, he is a bench guy that is high energy, high usage. Yeah. It's just whether or not he can, do things when on the floor. So you want to be different tonight for whatever reason in punt center. Isaiah Stewart's a guy that I'd put in one of 150 lineups, something like that. So,
he's good value.
Yeah.
It's good value.
Gets on the floor. All right, let's start off. We're going Nick Smith here.
Gets on the floor. Small forward, right?
Yeah, probably. Well, you go him shooting guard, you go Jaden McDaniel, small forward.
Yeah, you can do that too. That's
true. Power forward. Oh, Naz Reid.
Yeah.
Center. Are you going Mark Williams? Or are you going?
Center's the toughest spot of the day. Obviously, I wouldn't fault you for playing Mark Williams, but I think there's a lot of good pivots below Mark Williams as well.
We've kind of been in on our guy for.
Yeah.
He's starting now. We can't go away from him now.
Sure.
Throw Cade in there. We have more value. Do you want to take a shot on like a Tyrese Martin, or do you want to go
Grimes? I'd rather play Grimes. If it's similar price point, I'd rather play Quentin Grimes.
All right. Do Grimes at the forward or guard?
You can do Grimes. Probably. We could play around with that. I don't think. Okay. Probably forward, but I don't know.
Yeah, we have 7,800, so we can really spend up. Amin Thompson here at 8K.
Would you rather do Thompson or would you rather go up and get another guard? because you can play Grimes at either spot.
And you can go Trey and Grimes, just double up that game.
And then you still have like all the money in the world to get a util.
Play Dinwiddie. Like,
I don't hate Dallas in
Gafford.
any like it's dude, they have it's a pretty good spot for like just with how shorthanded they are.
Yeah, I agree. Cunningham, Smith, McDaniel, Reed, Okongwu, Trey, Grimes, and Gafford.
Is Dallas on
exposure.
back-to-back? No back-to-back. They are on a back-to-back today.
Who is?
Home against Minnesota at OKC tomorrow for Dallas.
Maybe that's
what they're throwing it out there.
Would you play Kyrie over Trey now? Asked Michael. Would consider it. Again, Kyrie isn't really impacted by Clay and Najee Marshall being ruled out. So
I just think there's more likelihood he doesn't come off the floor ever.
Sure.
Right? He's going to play 40. Like we're going to get 40 minutes.
Trey plays 40. It's not like it changes much.
I know. I'm just pointing out that like there's almost no scenario Kyrie's like off the floor at all in this game.
I agree. I don't know if I like him more, but I think he's a fine play, Michael.
One gets Jaden McDaniels defense.
Yeah.
One doesn't.
I don't even know. I guess you would get Osor Thompson tonight.
Probably Thompson, Beasley, Hardaway, all that. Yeah.
Again, this is a slate where we were playing Giannis before. Now we're like not playing Giannis. So
yeah.
That's where we're at. Playbook is out. It's getting updated. We'll have all that news stuff for you. We'll have the lineup. Rostership updated. 7:30 roster lock. So we're still 1.5 hours away from lock here tonight. So stay with us. Get in that Discord. Get the 7-day free trial. FantasyAlarm.com/win. Promo code Let's Go. Access to all the content and that Discord access as well. James and I will be back tomorrow. Get us there.